to avoid having an extended period of high unemployment was utterly clear and was rejected. All around the Western world, we had a turn towards austerity that was economically destructive, clearly prolonged. We should have been back to full employment by 2012 or something. We could have been quite easily. In fact, it went on much, much longer than that. And the funny thing was, again, as I say, that this was not treated as a debate. Doing the wrong thing was the right thing. It was simply assumed to be the case that this was what we should be doing. And what had happened, I have to admit, I don't think I fully appreciated it at the time. What had happened was that a lot of the political and media establishment simply internalized the values of the 0.01%. That the kinds of policy views that come naturally to people of great wealth just defined the parameters of what was considered responsible. The responsible thing to do was what the typical billionaires, as opposed to the atypical people who are supporting what we're doing at this conference, tends to think should be done. Why that particular point of view? Why that outlook? A lot of it is narrow self-interest, or at least some kind of class interest. You don't have to be a vulgar Marxist to say that it's kind of understandable that somebody with a great deal of money should support lower tax rates on high incomes and low tax rates on inherited wealth. It's not hard to understand really why they should support cuts in entitlement programs, because the entitlement programs require taxes to support them. And even in the U.S., the tax and transfer state, even though the U.S. has the weakest welfare state in the OECD, it's still considerably redistributive. So it was natural for them to oppose this. I think there's also just, there is a kind of lack of identification. There are two, I think, great gaps in perception in our society right now. On the one hand, most people have no idea how rich the rich are. I don't imagine that. People just have no notion. I've spent 15 years dealing with people who say, well, you say that there's a problem with the rich, but, shouldn't sports stars be paying a lot of money? Shouldn't music stars be? They are not paying a lot of money by the standards of Wall Street. People have no idea just how high the incomes are at the top. And on the other hand, I think that being at the top means that you have a very real sense of what life is like for most people. The classic example being the constant demand that we raise the retirement age, because after all, people are living longer, so shouldn't Social Security be delayed? And the answer is, well, actually, higher income people are living longer. There's a growing gap in life expectancy based upon socioeconomic status, and the bottom half of the income distribution, who are exactly the people who depend on Social Security most, have seen hardly any rise in life expectancy at all. In fact, at this point in the last few years, declining life expectancy. So this is a complete, basically we're saying that because highly paid accountants are living longer, that janitors should lose their retirement, and it's as far as I can make out, there's an honest. I mean, one of the things that does come with great wealth, in most cases, not all, is an insulation from the realities of life. I suspect that very few people in the 0.01% realize that for the majority of Americans, Social Security is the dominant and, in many cases, the sole source of support in retirement.